this. Well, it should show me that I go online. Yeah. Nice. Stream appears to be up. Yeah. So we're live on Twitch. Just want to check YouTube as well. Good old YouTube. And then I've got like this whole lab already starting to brew, already started everything. And I've even imported a new Juniper because I might want to just make that my route reflector. Just see here. There we go. All right, stream looks all right on both platforms. So that's good. All right, we can get to playing then. All right, good. Let me just open up OBS on the side so I can have the chat in another window. And there we go. So I first want to see if I can get these two microtics to first get the VPLS running, because that's what these blue customers were. Let's just refresh that page. And then maybe I should just make it descriptive. I'll come now. I want to just duplicate this, pop this up there, and then I could maybe make this something like VPLS site 1. And just maybe make that blue because that looks cool, or purple. That blue kind of looks like purple to me. I don't know, my eyes are a bit messed up. So let's get on to VPLS site 2. And firstly, let's just try and make it work through the microtics. And we're still going to have the same issue where I'm not going to be able to use the route reflector, because there is actually an issue. There's a bug with the route reflector and VPLS. But there is a slight workaround we can use to kind of force it to work, which is not optimal. It's not the way we should be doing it, but sometimes we just need to play the cards we're dealt. So let's do that. So I'm just going to go into this provider 1 device, and just to test out the VPLS stuff, what I could do is go into my bridges. I see I've created a bridge. What is this bridge for? Okay, there's already an empty bridge here. So what I could do is I could use that empty bridge and put that as part of the VPLS instance for this blue customer. And it's kind of just going to be like an invisible bridge. It's just there so that these two PEs can actually exchange their information correctly. I don't know, it's really weird. It shouldn't be that way. But it's one way to make it work. Otherwise, I'd have to change this out for a V6 microtik or use this Juniper. And that's kind of why I brought this Juniper in, because I have a feeling we're going to run into some other issues with the route reflectors later on. So I maybe just want to switch that as the actual route reflector. And that way, it can also be its own thing. It doesn't need to transit any of the traffic like what this provider device is doing, which is more realistic in what you'll see in the real world. So back on Winbox, let's just do the business that I wanted to do. I just wanted to check what was the customer site ID. I can just grab that off of one of the PEs quickly. Admin blank, and then just do a quick export. And I've got routing BGP VPLS 65000 colon 3. All right, so that's perfect. I'm pretty sure this route distinguisher needs to be unique, to be honest. I really feel like I should make that unique and add it per node. So I'm just going to update that while I'm here. So routing BGP VPLS set RD equals, and then this node IP, which is 172.31.255.255, and then we can just distinguish this as 3 for the customer 3, and I think that's the only BGP VPLS connection. Yeah. Site ID 1. Okay, that's good. I'm kind of just going to copy paste this and just bring it to the other PE quickly. It's very fast to do. So PE2 admin blank. That's not what I wanted to set it to. I wanted to set it to 254. So if I do a routing BGP VPLS export. All right, so that's good. And then our route targets can be this AS with the customer 3. I think that should be fine. All right, next point that I want to try and do is get onto this provider 1 and just see if I'm learning anything, which I should be. So if I just do a routing route print, I should see I'm getting some L2VPN stuff, which is correct. That's good. I'm happy with that. So next point, to try and make this work, I can just go into the routing BGP, and then on, actually not the BGP, I'll go into MPLS, VPLS, and this is kind of like the trick workaround, which is not ideal, but I'll just create a new one, and I'll just add a route distinguisher as this provider device's IP, so 172.31.255.1, I think. Colon 65000, and site ID. So I made the others 1 and 2, so I might just make this like 100. So it's like a random site that shouldn't be assigned in the VPLS configuration. And then I'll just use my AS with my customer ID as the import and export route targets, 65000:3. And then I'll just use this dummy bridge, which has no interface in it, it's just a bridge. And I'm pretty sure if I just apply this, that should take. And if we look at this again, I can see I've got my own stuff here for layer 2 VPN. I actually think I maybe messed up the route distinguisher bit here. I could just set that as my AS like this as well. So that was P2, that was P1, and let's just go back to the P1. Let's see what we receive. All right, we're receiving those routes. It's quite easy to pick up like what we're learning. I can just do like a routing route print where AFI equals, and it's L2 VPN, like fairly straightforward. But let me actually see if it's working now. Like that's the real trick question. And this is kind of like where I've used this spaghetti code to make it work, which shouldn't be the case, but you know, it's how I've made it work now. I think I also had some direct BGP connections between the two PE devices, so I maybe just want to disable that as well. Why can't I get onto this other screen now? There we go. So my PE, I can just tab to it, and then I can just have a quick look and see routing BGP print. So yeah, I've got the two connections, and I do want to remove between the two devices directly. So I'll just do routing. Actually, I can just disable it. Routing BGP, disable. Routing BGP connection, disable. And I'll just disable one. And I'm pretty sure it will be the same on the other end. So I can go here. And now I can quickly have a look. Let's go on to our devices, and if I look at this MikroTik 18, I wonder if I'll actually see it. So, well, thanks for correcting me if I misspoke somewhere. I'm not sure if I said something else. So let's look admin blank, and if I do an IP neighbor, the question is, do we see it? And I do not see it. Interesting. Wonder if that's different. Let me just get onto the... When I'm alt-tabbing, I'm not alt-tabbing back to what I actually want to get to. So let's see here. PE1. Just want to do a quick export again. So we've got our bridge 1. I've got some route targets which look good to me. Site ID is fine. I think it should automatically set it as raw Ethernet, but I could potentially just disable that as well. Otherwise, what I can have a look at is my MPLS is fine. I'm pretty sure the label distribution is just fine. Let's just see, our bridge is Ether 10. So does that match? PE1, Ether 10 is bridge, that's right. And my EP2, that's Ether 11. So let's just check that out. Export this as well. So I've got the routing BGP VPLS, I've got my bridge, route targets look good, site ID look good. So scroll up a bit. I said it was Ether 10. I think that's actually a issue there. So there I've got it set for Ether 11. Which, oh no, it is Ether 11. Ah, sorry, I misspoke there. So that is Ether 11, so that is fine. Ether 10 was on the other side. So my port is done. I'm not using traffic engineering, so that should be fine. So interesting. I know that I can make it work. Let's test something out again. So I'm just going to do this bit quickly. I'm going to disable the spaghetti configuration. I got this working on earlier. That was under MPLS, under VPLS configuration, and then I can just turn this off temporarily. Just see if I missed anything here. I wonder if I set the type to raw Ethernet and also just, I don't know. I don't think I should have to set a control word. Let me just see if that makes a difference. On that customer edge device quickly. No, that didn't do anything. And I could potentially also just remove, but the control word is disabled, so it's not using that. And we're using raw Ethernet, so that is good. That is good. So let's see. Alright, let's go with my original idea. Just disable the BGP VPLS off of this device. Well, I wanted to disable it, not remove it, but that's fine. And now the question is, do I want to do that direct connection? Actually, let's do this extra Juniper that I've added on here. Let's make this a little route reflector. So what I can do is just connect this onto one of the devices. I just might add this on the P2. So the Juniper on GE00 on Ether 3 of the P2 device. And luckily I've got some config prepped for it already, so it shouldn't take too long to get this set up. So I just need to decide what IP I want to give it. Let's see what's currently in use. 16. I don't think I've got 18. I don't think I've got 20. So I think 22 shouldn't be in use. But there is a quick way to see. I could just jump onto one of these other Junipers and just check the routing table. So CLI, if we look at our route table, 10.0.0, let's do 22. But I should see a .20. Alright, so we can do 22, should be fine. So I'll just duplicate that quickly and pop that on there. 22. I'll make 22 the provider device and 23 the route reflector. So let me just grab my prep config and let's just make this RR2. So GE000 on its IP, we're going to make that 23. And the loopback interface, I wonder, do I have this .2 assigned anywhere? I don't think I do, but let me just make double sure. Show route. Actually, I do. I'm actually completely wrong. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 I can take. So let's just take .5. And let's just see, we can do a bit of a loopback filter. Okay, that's good. We can also import our routing tables between the INET 0 and the INET 3, which is good. And then the important bit is the actual BGP route reflector. So we've got a route reflector set up for we'll just update the IPs here, .5 and .5. So it's eternal or internal, that's right. We've got our local address, which is the loopback address. We're doing unicast, we're doing L3 VPN, L3 VPN v6, and layer 2 VPN, and then that magical eVPN that I actually do want to test out. So I'm happy if that's there already. We've got our autonomous system numbers and then our P device IPs here. I might actually add the other Ps quickly just to have all of them connected to this new route reflector. Let me just double check their IP. So I've got a 2.3, 2.5.5 and 2.5.4. So 2.5.5, 2.5.4. Actually that is .2 and .3 is PE1 and 2. Then 2.5.5 is PE3, 2.5.4 is PE4. And then just some basic OSPF config. I don't have G001. I'll just use a single uplink or backhaul into the core network. So now we can start just copying this across. Should just be a quick copy paste. So let me just grab it onto here. If I can get onto the right device, I guess that will help. So that is root, CLI, configure, delete, yes, delete. And then we can just set a system root authentication plain text password. Commit that so that I don't get spammed. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There was a bug on Ether 3. That's why that was free. I wonder if it's fixed now. We'll see. If I don't get any IP comms, then I'll just move it to another port, because you are right. I'm sort of hoping that my system that's been restarted since then has kind of just fixed it. But you're right. That is exactly why we weren't using that port. So let's just get back and see that Juniper. Man, I get so lost between all my screens. Okay, cool. So I've got the right device. Should just be able to copy paste this stuff across quickly. And then just our rib groups. And our route reflector settings. And then this bit, our address family stuff. Let's throw this in there. And now our neighbors. Hope it just takes all the neighbors one time. That would be pretty nice. Seems like it did. So let's just do a commit check, see if it's happy with my configuration. Oh, please. Oh, please. Thank you. And let's just see if that Ether3 is actually giving problems. So I can just jump onto, what was it, P2. I don't think I've got a PuTTY session open to it yet. So P2, admin blank. So IP address add address 10.00 dot, what does I say, 22/31 on Ether3. Let's just see if I can ping across before I continue with anything else. So 23, I can ping across. So I don't know, whatever was the issue last time, just fixed it. So it's one of those things with using virtual or emulated resources. There might have been like some stuck MAC address bound to something else and it didn't clear properly. All right, cool. So that is working. So then I can just go into my routing, OSPF interface template. I can add or edit my interfaces. And Ether3 is already added, so I don't need to worry about that. But that is previous config. So I should maybe already be learning some stuff on this route reflector too. So if I just do show route, awesome. I can see the OSPF routes. I've got my INET 3 routes as well, which is basically for the MPLS stuff, which is good. Although I'm not going to run MPLS to the route reflector. This is pure IP I'm doing. So I just want to quickly set up the connection to the new route reflector. I'm just going to edit it actually. So on all of the P's, I'm just going to change it to this. What's this IP? I made it .5 or something. So let me just duplicate that. That was .5. So I could jump onto my P1. And let me just do it on P1 and 2 quickly and then see what the outcome is. So if I do a configure, no, I'm on a MikroTik now, not the right syntax. So I can do routing BGP, let's just export it. And then I know I've got the two connections. I've got one that's disabled, which was to the other provider edge, and then I've got 0, which runs to the route reflector. So let's just do a configure, or I need to stop doing that, routing BGP connection. And then I can just do two things. I'm just going to set the remote address to 172.31.255.5. And maybe I'll just update the name. So P1 to RR2. I think I made that the host name. And that should almost be it. Let me just copy the string, pop it in a single line, and then also just add that 0 at the end, because that will just make it a lot quicker on the other PE device. So I did P1, let's do P2. And then if I look at my routing BGP connection or session, it should be established, which it is, which I'm happy with. So if I go back there, actually let's just do a quick one and go back to the MikroTik 18. So my spaghetti string code didn't work either. I had it working in the lab earlier, so there must be something I did wrong on the MikroTik as the route reflector. But again, that's like a it's not normal to do what I was doing. That was like mad scientist stuff, like just adding an empty bridge in the same VPLS instance to make it work. It's not normal. Okay, so at least now I can see I am learning the remote CE2 customer 3 device. And the question is, I think I bound these IP addresses on the external interfaces as well, the ether ones, just to test with. So what I could do is see, can I ping 10.11.12.2, because that's the neighbor's IP, and I think .1 is this MikroTik. Okay, that's pretty right. That is good. So this MikroTik 18 can get to this MikroTik 19 as VPLS over this VPLS service. So there's a few cool ways we could leverage that actually. I could just use this MikroTik as a Ethernet demarcation device, like a EDD, and I could just bridge its interfaces with whatever the customer wants to plug in on their remote ends, and they've got layer 2. So let's just imagine this could have been like 2 remote servers that they wanted to have in the same broadcast domain. We could put it in that instance, in that kind of setup this way. So let's just test it out. I'm just going to create some bridges on these CEs to bridge their downlinks to the customer devices, and then we can test and see if these PCs can then see each other. That should be pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that should work, but who knows? Who knows? So MikroTik 18. What I could do is interface bridge add, and in this bridge I can add this as, I don't think I'm going to give it a name, I'll just leave it blank. Wonder if I want to disable STP. Probably, but I'll keep it enabled for now. So let's just add the bridge, and then I'll just add the ports, like a very straightforward, simple setup. So ports, interface bridge, port, add. Then our interface is going to be ether 1, and our bridge is going to be bridge 1. Very basic setup. And then I'll just bridge ether 2 on the same bridge. And that should be it. So let me just do it on the other end as well. I just need to make sure I add the bridge, otherwise it's not going to work. So I don't think I've got a console session open to it, so here we go. So I can do admin blank. Then we can do a interface bridge add, paste that other config. So I'll just bridge ether 1 and ether 2. And now the question is, if I give these virtual PCs whatever IP, will they be able to get to each other? So let's maybe do like IP 999999.1. I'm not even going to add a gateway. And let's just put this one PC on the left. All right, I didn't like what I was doing there. VPC2. So I just wanted these 2 PCs side by side quickly. So then I can just do IP.2. Oh, IP, not a good one. So that should at least give us IP connectivity between the 2 remote ends. So let's just see, can I ping 99.99.99.2? Nice. That is working. So it's working. That is a good thing. That is not a bad thing. It's bad because it wasn't working on the MikroTik. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I can get it working with that extra configuration, and it's not like something that I figured out. I just happened to browse the MikroTik forums, and I saw another user mentioned it. Let me just see if I can find that post. So it's not even on the Microtik documentation. This is just on the forums. Forum.microtik.com. And if I search here, VPLS ROS v7, can I find it? Let me just bring this over as well, so you guys can see what I'm looking at. BGP VPLS with route reflector, and this is actually quite common. Like this is, okay, it's my scenario, Cisco route reflector. The thing is, layer 3 VPN was also an issue, then they fixed that, because I made a post about it earlier on my LinkedIn profile about this, and I might even make a video about this, because this is one of those weird things when it comes to Microtik, for me at least. I just want to see if I can find the person that posted about it. I know his name is like Cambridge1 or something like that. Clambert, this is the person I was thinking about. I don't think my login works anymore. I should just be able to search his name, so like Clambert VPLS. Man, it's one of those cases where I open up so many forum tabs where I just happen to catch it somewhere, and now I don't find the post that I was actually trying to reference. I just know that they made the post that there's one way to make it work, and it's by doing this one weird thing, which I tested earlier on my own in a different lab, and then it was working. So, but again, that's not normal behavior at all. Now the question is, if I move this to the Juniper, can I get it working? That is a good question. So let's just do that. So I'm just gonna delete the connection off of Ether 1 or 11, and then I'm just gonna bring this onto this PE3 at the top. Ether 1 from the customer side onto, which port did I even configure? I think I configured GE008. Let me just make sure. I'm hoping I've got the VPC here, not the VPC, the Juniper. I'm sure I do. It's this one. This one is sending me these weird errors every now and again. So if I do a show configuration, display set, 008 was the interface. So I could do 008. Let's just save that, and let me just see if I've done anything else. I've deactivated that routing instance, so I should just enable that, so we can just activate it. And we've got our GE008 site identifier 1, which is fine. Then I've got my own route distinguisher here. And then I've got my VRF targets. And I think this interface is wrong. That's customer 1. Sorry, I'm not looking at something completely different. I should have stopped a little bit sooner. So the customer 3 routing instance. So I should be able to just check if that's fine. It looks happy. So let's just commit and quit and see, can I see my show VPLS connections? Okay, it shows that there is a local site, but no connection is found. Now the question is, I am learning some routes there. It's only this one route, but this I suspect is the local route. I think I know what's wrong. So I think I haven't updated the BGP to the route reflector yet. So configuration, display set, match BGP. Yeah, let's just update that to the new route reflector. Configure, update you to, actually I think I need to rename it if I just want to update it like that. So let's just do a rename. Protocol neighbor this to, do I need to say neighbor again? Apparently yes. .5 show compare. We're losing .1, we're adding .5. I mean, I could probably do something like a cluster, but I'm just going to keep the single route reflector for now. And I especially don't want to add that MikroTik for now. So let's see, how does my VPLS stuff look now? That's still doing its offline thing, but if we look at our route table, customer 3, layer 2 VPN, that looks good. Okay. So let's just check again. No, it's nothing there. Configure. Edit interfaces. What was it? G008, I think. Yeah. Show display set. So I've got the encapsulation set as Ethernet VPLS. Maybe I should set it to set interfaces set. If I do the encapsulation, I'm pretty sure it's already set to Ethernet VPLS. Yeah. All right, so that looks fine to me. And I'm pretty sure it's learning the routes correctly as well. Well, technically it's not routes. This is layer 2 stuff, but I wonder what else I can check here. Unless I want to try and just roll it out to this other Juniper and see maybe it's something between the MikroTiks. But I feel like we should be able to get it working like a MikroTik PE with a Juniper PE, you know, because it's still just VPLS at the end of the day. Let me just do a brief comparison quickly between my working stuff. So if I go back onto my, where's it, PE1. So if I just export your config, and let's just do it side by side again. And let me get the other Juniper. Just exit our configuration, show configuration display set. So the important bits for me is the VPLS config. So with the Juniper, I've got an instant type set for VPLS. I've got the interface set there as well. I actually think I might have to make a change where I use the .0 interface. Maybe. Although I think the VPLS instance should at least still come up, even though the interface might be in a wrong state. Alright, so we've got a VRF target 65000:3, which is fine. Site identifier 1. Let me just make sure my site identifiers are different in this instance, because I might have the same site ID, and I think that could definitely be an issue. Yeah, they're both site ID 1, which is a problem. So the quickest way to fix this is just to update this Juniper side. So let's do a configuration. I'll just update this to .2. Yeah, that looks fine. And show VPLS connections. Still no connections being found. Show log messages, last 100. Can I maybe match with VPLS? Interesting. I'm just reading this error here, but this is just something from the .1 route reflector. I can actually turn these off so it doesn't try and form those BGP connections the whole time. But that wouldn't break it. So I've got these two. And I've got these set correctly. And I know it was working because, well, I saw it was working, so it's kind of obvious. Let me just connect this P up to the management cloud quickly. Although I think I could get onto it on Ramon anyways. You think the site ID was used? I know 100 was used on the P1. Maybe I should just use separate or new site IDs. But let me just jump on from Winbox quickly. I've got my P1, admin blank. And let me just have a look at my VPLS config here. That's fine. So it does create the VPLS tunnel. That's fine. I might just set that to its default state as well. Yep, that looks fine. Right. Just disable, enable. See it bring up that tunnel. Well, it should bring up that tunnel. Maybe I speak too soon. Routing BGP. Okay, the RR. Let me just disable, enable that as well. Try and force the BGP. Man, do I really need to set this to raw Ethernet? I shouldn't have to set that. Because the default is set to raw Ethernet, I think. So, some questions pop up in my mind. Can I get to... I should be able to get there because we got the VPL or the layer 3 VPN stuff working as well. 255, 255. So that is fine. I hope it's not a interoperability issue. Because I know it was for a fact working with the two MikroTiks when they were connected to each other. And was just using a Juniper as a route reflector. Let me just check something on the route reflector quickly. If I can remember where it was. There we go. So show route. Okay, so I'm learning these three. Actually, what am I learning from 254? Yeah, something doesn't look 100% right here. Oh, I kind of think I know why. I think the BGP for this is still not doing anything. Okay, so it's not sending out those routes. If I go to my BGP, is my session established? Yes, it is. And I am doing LTVPN to it. Yeah, obviously I should be. So why are you not happy now? Two five five, 255. Let me just grab that quickly. I think I see another issue. Oh, this is me like being a bit silly. I see it actually quite glaring. My route distinguisher is the same on the P1 and the P3 now, so I'm just gonna update this to what it actually should be. 172.31. What was that? 255 dot. I think it's dot 2 on the P1. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's dot 2. All right. So that explains why that was being an issue. So now the question is, do I disable and just re-enable that? And do I actually see the routes now? If I just do a summary, that should go up. I should see 4. I should see more. Still nothing there. Is there anything else I'm missing? But that was the issue. That was definitely an issue. Because I would have had the same route distinguisher on both ends. So let's go on to our Juniper. Let me just double check my display set, configure or show configuration. I said match BGP or match VPLS or match routing instances. So yeah. So here I'm using the customer ID as well. Maybe just update that, but I don't think that should break it like this. Because that's still a unique route distinguisher. So let me just grab this like that. Make that dot. 1365000. Okay, now that should be unique. All right, that might actually be the issue this side then. All right, so let's do this then. I'm just going to use the AS then and 3, just like this. Then I can just set this route distinguisher for customer 3 to the same. And if we compare that, it should look better. Although, I wonder if this is actually going to show me anything else there. Doesn't look like it. So route table L2, or it's BGP L2 VPN 0. One, two, okay. And then I've got this one, which I could potentially just disable. So 172.31.255.254. Where did I set that? I'm getting that from 172.31.255.3. I think I should just turn that config off for a bit. So let me just go on to, I think that's PE2. So from PE2, PE2 routing or what is routing? BGP VPLS. Yeah. And this is what you were talking about earlier, where I had this as a site ID too as well. That's why it was showing up all like messed up almost. So routing BGP VPLS. I'm just going to disable this. Right, that is how I was expecting it. Right. So now the question is the Juniper and the MikroTik actually talking? What, those are the VPCs. That's the route reflector. Right, there we go. So let's just do a show VPLS connections. Still nothing there. Question is, how stuck do I want to get with this config? Because I actually do want to play around with the EVPN as well, but I can't do that on MikroTik at all. Let me just delete this management thing quickly. Alright, I'm going to swing back to it in a bit. Just going to reconnect this for now, just to keep the VPLS working. What was that on? 11, I think. And now I'm going to have to do the same thing as earlier, so I'm just going to have to make sure that I disable the config on the Juniper quickly. Deactivate routing instance. What is customer 3? Show compare. Yeah, commit and quit. So that should make the VPLS work. And then if I go back to my PE2, I can just enable this one. So show routing BGP VPLS print. I do see something there. And on the PE1, show or routing BGP VPLS print. Okay, so that is there. So I just wonder on the computers, is this working again? No, so clearly I broke something else. That's awesome. So we've got that up and running. This must be with how I've disabled some of this stuff. So let me just get back on this on management. Let me just see what it is doing. PE1. So that's fine. Sessions, that's fine. My VPLS. I don't have this connecting now. Site ID 1. I should actually make this the loopback address IP. So let's just try that again. So 172.31. It was at 255 dot. This is PE1, so that was dot 2. And if I go onto the PE, well, I actually think it might just come up now. Although I should still just update it on the P2 as well. So routing BGP VPLS export routing because this should be .3. So routing IP address print. Yeah, So routing BGP VPLS set RD, and that is 172.31.255.3 for customer 3. And then if I navigate back here, do we have anything now? Best viewer stream. Nah, it's alright. I'm not looking to buy any viewers. Thanks, bro. Why did I mess up now? Because I really messed something up, and it's probably something silly. Oh, that is the PE4. I don't think I've added any changes on PE4. This is the route reflector, and I am learning these routes off of it. PE1. I wonder if I just quickly restart this as well, will it actually have an impact? Because it might just be a weird stuck thing as well. So let me just start or stop and start the piece again. At least with MikroTik, it's pretty quick to boot back up. I should actually just see Winbox reconnect as well. Give it 2 seconds. 1, 2. Apparently that was too quick for it. Let's just give it 2 more seconds or 10 seconds or whatever. There we go. So let's look at our routing. Our BGP should be coming up. Sessions established to the route reflector. I shouldn't have to change anything with that. Right, these look fine. Interesting. Right, let's look at our VPLS now. I'm still not having the interface actually do anything. Let me use the same route targets as this as well. And we get onto the PE2. I just want to see, I think I've disabled the pseudo wire type as well. Let me just set it to the same that's on the PE2. I think PE2 had it set for disabled. Let me just make sure. It looks like that stopped working. So just cancel that, export that. Let's just see our pseudo wire control word is disabled, which is fine. That's fine. Bridge 1. Actually, I've already changed it. Let me just do the same on the P2. VPLS export routing. VPLS set. Import route targets. What did I make the... Else I could just set it to something simple, maybe 1-1 or import route targets. This should actually work, to be fair. This should actually work. Let me actually set that as the route distinguisher. Route distinguisher that for 0 and go back to our provider edge. MPLS, VPLS. I mean, I first just need to just have it back on a working setup. All right, there we go. So I did have an issue with my route distinguishers there. So that comes up. Let's just see, is the stuff actually working? Yeah. So we're back in a working state. All right, now, now I can try and just bring it back on the Juniper as well. Or I can try and play with the EVPN as well. I really would like to test interoperability. Interop. I guess that's a nice way of saying it. Between MikroTik and Juniper, I really feel like this should work. Alright, let's just test it one more time. I won't spend too much time on it. I mean, this again is just me having fun. So routing BGP disable, routing BGP VPLS disable 0. That should disable that VPLS connection, and we should actually see it drop on the Did I remove that cable as well? Yeah, I did. I did it like without even remembering or registering. That was like just being disassociated almost, just autopiloting. So I've disabled the PE2 VPLS config. So I'm just going to jump back here, but let's just move that cable back to G008. And then from that Juniper, if I can find it, not that one, not that one. It was a weird name, or did I close it off? Seems like I did. So let's just export this or configure. I should be able to just activate, but let's just do a show routing instances or display set. So site ID is 2 here. As long as the other side is 1. And then what I could do is just do targets this. Well, it's already had it set like that here. So if I do a show route and VPLS connections, there's nothing there. Oh, because I don't have it activated, so I just activate it. And then I can commit that and just have another look. Okay, so we've got VPLS site 2. And it would actually help if I still had that Winbox session, although I should be able to see it from the command line as well, but Winbox just looks a bit neater. So let's just refresh. PE1. Yeah, so we're having some issue there. All right, so let's go back to the Juniper. I think that should actually work, to be fair. Let me just do a little bit of a lookup here. So if I go Juniper VPLS. VPLS configuration with BGP signaling, so that should be pretty straightforward. Juniper was a little bit unhappy about something there. I'm not doing tunnel services. I'm also not doing a VLAN tag. This is straight Ethernet. I wonder if I should just do it on that unit 0. Let me try that. Configure set interfaces G08.0 encapsulation. No, this is just a VLAN VPLS here. So let me see. It's fine. We've got the route reflector working. Our VRF targets are fine as well. Alright, that wasn't too helpful. That's some old stuff. G102. Let's see how that's configured. Configuration looks okay to me. Encap. Because here we did Ethernet VPLS, which is fine. Make sure it's still there. Yep. All right. I'm not going to get too stuck up on it. I'll figure it out as well. So let's just deactivate that routing instance again for customer 3. Commit and quit. And I'm just going to move that back to our little MikroTik. So that can go on to 11, and then I just need to re-enable it on the PE2. Enable. Helps if I don't do that. And then let's just see if our connection comes back up. There we go. It's already up. All right. So BGP signal VPLS between MikroTik and Juniper, I'm running into some snags, which I'll get figured out, but it's one of those things. But while we're on the subject of layer 2 stuff, I know that I do want to test out the EVPN as well. I've had it working before as well. What is this? Oh, so we did do layer 3 VPN to a customer 2 site there. So what else I can try and do is the EVPN. So I'm not going to have the MikroTiks involved for this. This should be between this V router at the bottom and the Juniper at the top. I'm just going to need to add a couple of more nodes. I can actually power off a few of these layer 3 sites just to conserve a bit of resources, although I actually don't think I'm running out of resources. Let me just see. I actually still have plenty of memory and CPU. It's just my disk's actually getting quite full, which is unfortunate. Where is my OBS? There we go. So I shouldn't actually have to shut that down. I don't even need to really bring 2 more MikroTiks or anything in. I could really just do 2 VPCs and it would test in essence the same thing. I'm just going to pop them into the Junipers directly. So Ether 0 on GE007. And then start up this VPC. Since we've already got Route Reflector working, this should just be a case of, let me make it 7 on both ends, of adding that EVPN address family. Let me just see that I added on the signaling for the Junipers. I don't think so. Let me just check. So there's our P4 show. Let's do show configuration. Display set match BGP. No, I don't have the EVPN set, so I can just quickly set that. It should just be like turning on a switch. So let's do our family. And I should have EVPN there. I should turn on signaling for it as well. Yeah, that should be it. Commit and quit. And I think I could just copy paste this almost to our other Juniper, which is this one. Commit and quit. So EVPN ticked on. That's the first part. So what else I want to do is just jump onto that configuration examples from the Juniper site quickly and just reference it for our EVPN setup. So let's do Juniper EVPN configuration. There's actually a lot of stuff on EVPN. Really neat. Juniper EVPN. Alright, I think this is the setup guide I want to follow along. Let me just also put it on the screen. Pretty straightforward. EVPN active standby multi-homing. Although we're not really doing multi-homing. But we are doing this. We've already got OSPF running. We've got IBGP. Well, we don't have an IBGP mesh. We've just got route reflect running, but that should be more than enough. And we are running LDP instead of RSVP. On the P1, P2, each device C facing interfaces uses the same Ethernet segment identifier, so that's pretty straightforward. I don't care too much about the CE configuration. One point I do care about is our PE. So this was our PE. Well, that was just multi-homing it. That's not really what I want to do. But what I could do is look at my P1 and P3 configs. So we'll just grab that, pop that in a separate text, add another one for the P3. Paste that in there. So let's have a look. Hang on a second. Just need to check something. All right. Nothing important. All right, so let's have a look here. We've got a EVPN routing instance where they've assigned that interface. And they're doing some bridge domain stuff as well. I actually think what I'd like to do is, and this might seem a bit redundant, but I know I've had it working before in a separate lab, so I might actually just do this. I might just grab all of these and just quickly shut them down, and I'm pretty sure I have a Juniper lab for this. I just need to find it quickly. So while these power down, let me just find a Juniper lab. That seems pretty self-explanatory. Juniper EVPN lab. So this was the lab. It actually looks quite nice. I don't know what you guys think, but I think this looks pretty nice. I just don't know if the configs will work, and I'm pretty sure what was on these devices are... Let's just start them and see what happens. Just need to start them one at a time. And I might want to bring a couple of these newer V routers in and just export the configs to them. But I just want to have a look and see how I actually got it working before I sit around and try and figure it out from scratch again, because it's easy to get lost, especially if you have like 20 different ideas running through your head at the same time. But here I can see I've got my /31s between my devices. I've got some loopback addresses assigned. I've had an ESI that was assigned just for this active standby type of setup between these interfaces going towards the one customer edge, towards this one site, site B. Then we had a site A. I actually think this is more similar to a layer 3 VPN if I remember correctly. But I'll see what the setup looks like when it's actually up and running. No, this is layer 2 because these things are in the same broadcast domain. they're in the same range, 192.168.99 dot whatever. So that is actually pretty useful as well. So let's just get this up, and then I might just export some of that config to apply to the Streamlab, which is kind of ironic, calling it a Streamlab, because that is what OBS calls itself on its paid format as well. So let's see here. Right, so that's fine. Let me just see if there is anything cool that's happened on the post that I made earlier. Some more action there. But nothing that's standing out, no extra conversation. Alright, that's fine. That's cool. So I just have the suspicion that these devices were running a trial license, and that trial license has expired, and routing instances don't really work nicely with expired trial licenses. But I should at least be able to just export that config and give it a go over and see what was making it tick, instead of jumping around some of the Juniper documentation. Because here it's like it was a working setup. I remember this was working. And the core is all just Juniper. It's just the edges was like a MikroTik that I set up because obviously I like MikroTik. So how far is the start up? I don't like that that's a thing. I've got a feeling the old lab hasn't shut down properly yet. Let me just go into the old lab. Well, when I say old lab, I mean the other lab. So MikroTik, I think I called it MikroTik new stuff, or new stuff MikroTik or something. Because the fact that I could still scroll around that route reflector was not a good sign. Yeah, there's definitely a few nodes still up and running on here. So let me just make sure I've shut them all down. I'm pretty sure with Eve Pro you can have multiple different lab IDs running at the same time, and you could even connect them up with a cloud. So you could treat each canvas as its own campus or data center almost, which is quite cool. Alright, these all are offline now, so let's close the lab. Go back to my Juniper lab. My EVPN lab. And these have started up. Well, I hope so. It's still busy booting though. And it might take a minute to boot. So while it's still booting, I'm just going to run through some more stuff. Let's go onto the docs. Well, I don't necessarily have to go through the documentation. I just want to look at the configuration. But there's more stuff that I actually want to figure out besides obviously just Juniper stuff, because I want to see what's been happening with VPLS. I know a lot of people, I know VPLS has actually been taking some flack recently. I think I've mentioned it on a previous stream, and I'm not totally sure what's happening, like why it's an issue. Quickly build your own image or take a look how to download a free or supported version. I just don't know what the actual issue was, but I should be able to just get onto the VPLS documentation if I just remember where they keep it again. Documentation. It shouldn't be under the support, maybe the knowledge base? No. I shouldn't have to log in to access it. VIOS documentation. There we go. There's the docs. So we've got a few things. Well, there's a configuration blueprints, which I kind of like, and I think we might have. Do we even have EVPN on VIOS? I'm not sure. Let's see. Do they support that? L3 VPN, EVPN with VIOS, so apparently they do. L3 VPN, EVPN with VIOS on 1.4 rolling 2023. Wow, that's actually quite a while ago as well. And let's see, how does this look? It's kind of just look like the Eve topology, but it's fine. Foobar Services Provider Incorporated. I like the name of the company. That's really neat. Really neat. It is. This is EVNG, man. I don't even know why I didn't see it when I saw these icons and how this. Well, maybe it's Unit Lab. I guess you could say. So our core network. They're running this with OSPF. They're running some. There's the address family for the EVPN. So this is what I don't get. Like, how does VIOS have the EVPN support, but it's not on MikroTik? I don't understand it. And I mean, that's maybe some would say not a fair comparison to make, but I think it's a very fair comparison. I think MikroTik is I don't want to say superior networking vendor, because VIOS is a great vendor, but I think MikroTik is at least on par, at the very least. And somehow it still doesn't do EVPN. And again, I don't want them to like rush out EVPN just for the sake of having it. I want them to do it properly. I hope it comes out. That's all I'm saying. All right, is my Juniper's up? Hooray! Root. Go into the CLA, show configuration, display set, show BGP summary. Okay, so I did do some bridge domains here for a VLAN 10. My BGP is established. That is pretty cool. And I wanted to see BGP EVPN table. This is cool. This is kind of like where you see how it learns some of this BGP information. Need to hop off. Have a nice evening. No, thanks for joining. It was nice hanging around and chatting a bit as well. You helped me a lot with like looking at some of the site ID issues that I had with the VPLS, which is kind of silly from my part, but it happens. I mean, like everybody makes mistakes like that. I can promise anyone that works on networking equipment. Man, these Junipers aren't happy with all of this stuff that's happening. So, okay, I know that I am learning the EVPN routes. The question is the solution already working? Like, that is something that I should ask. But what I like about the EVPN routes is how it learns like the MAC addresses. And it will even, you can even see it like in this EVPN route table. Like there's the MAC address that it learned. So if I go back onto my EVNG, let me just close off files maybe. And let's just see, does the stuff work? Can I get from 99.1 to 99.2? Like, that is the question. Does that work? Admin. What is it? Man, I'm like a goldfish at the moment. 192.168.99.1. 1 is the local IP. Can I go to the 2? Yay! Yay! The EVPN is working. EVPN is already working. Can these dockers get to each other? That is also a good question. I think I did add bridging on these microtics. I can just quickly check if I do an export. DHCP client cannot run. I don't know why that's set. I actually think that's some default configuration. Yeah, so Ether 2. I put in that VLAN 10. So it's handing it off as VLAN 10 into the MikroTik, and then the MikroTik is basically just stripping off or setting Ether 2 as an access port for VLAN 10. So that is quite cool. So if I check from my Dockers, I swear I clicked something there. There was a little download for a thing. So let's just connect onto Docker. I think it is the Eve GUI server. Let me just max that. Wow, that's like really not big. Minimize maybe. Alright, so let's just see if I go into my system tools, my mate's terminal. If I look at my ifconfig, my IP isn't set here yet, so I can just set it myself. Man, I'd really do this. I think it's just ifconfig and then ETH0, and then you can set the IP address for it. So what is it, like 192.168.99.3/24. And then if I look at my ifconfig, I should see the IP there. So yep. So now the question is, if I take this other Docker, give it .4, can they reach each other? Which I kind of think they can. So go here, go here. I have config ETH0, 192.168. Apologies for the yawn. I have config ETH0, 192.168.99.4/24, I think. IF config. And now, can I ping 192.168? Let's try a few things. Can I ping 99.2, which is its local MikroTik? Can I ping .1, which I can, which is pretty cool. And can I ping .3? Yay! We've got end-to-end access. That is really cool. So VPL, or not VPLS even, EVPN is working correctly. So I know this can work. I know it can work. And I think what makes this type of EVPN setup quite nice is we've got these redundant links. So it does run on an active passive state. And I just want to see which one is currently the active. I think it is this top one. For 110.99.254.3. So let me just check on it. VPC03, show configuration, display set. I just want to see, I'm pretty sure you set it to be active somewhere. It's not under the routing instances. I actually think you set it under the interface itself. Single active. Yeah, so here under the GE00 interface, the important bit is we've set the ESI, which matches on both ends. Then we can set what it does, which one is the active, which one's like a passive state. I don't remember if you set the other state to passive. I think it just picks it up, but I don't 100% remember, so I might be misremembering. And then all we've done is also added a VLAN, but we've basically added a bridge and added that unit 10 interface into this bridge for the VLAN 10 ID list. So what I'd like to do is if I just jump onto this bottom Juniper, what is happening? So let's have a look. If I do a, what is this, root TMB123. I wonder, my trial license, has it been ticking off the whole time? Show, what does it show? System license. I don't have a license installed, but it's currently working. And I know if you add routing instances, it usually breaks. Although maybe this eVPN routing instance kind of works fine, I guess, or it still works with the configuration you had. You just can't add new config. I'm not sure, to be honest. But let's just have a look here. If I look at the Gs, is this also 000? Yep. Show configuration, display set. And then we can match our GE000. So here is also just set to single active. Is this then in an active state then? Is both interfaces live at the same time? Does this almost work like a LACP trunk then? I wonder if I look at this MikroTik 10, and I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and just also pop a network in for this. So this MikroTik, is it actually, what is it doing? That is the question. So there's the CPU2, connect to it. I just want to see, have I added any type of LACP for it, or how is it figuring this stuff out? So ether 1, 2, if I go to my bonding, I don't have a bond, so it's definitely not bonding anything. So all I've done is, I'm pretty sure both, like all three of those ports are in the bridge, which is right. That's really interesting. And my STP is set for RSTP. Alright, so all that I want to do maybe is just test it. Let me run a ping from, I'm not sure which one I'm on at the moment, Docker 12. Okay, so I'm on the far right side, which is perfect because then I can just run this continuous ping here. And what I really want to test is just turn off some interfaces. So let's just disable that interface. I think if I just suspend link, does it completely break it? It looks like it's turned that off. So I would actually expect this other link to take over now, but I just wonder now with EvenG how I've set it up. When you disable a link like this, does it actually let the interfaces work the way it's supposed to? Let me resume that. And technically I think I should just see this resuming or start working. Yeah, so there I saw something come through. Alright, so there are packets resume. So something looked a bit weird to me there. But what I'd like to do maybe is just disable this GE00 on the control plane itself. So let's jump on here. So show interfaces GE000. So what I could do is a configuration, deactivate interface G00, or I could just do an set interface G000, disable, show compare, commit and quit. So let's run the ping again, commit and quit. Alright, so that has definitely turned off that GE00. And there it's still working, so it's traversing over this bottom link now. Right, so that is expected behavior. That is actually what it should be doing. So I don't think just suspending the link really breaks it. I think it just kind of like doesn't forward traffic properly anymore. So let's just turn it back on, configure. What's that? We can just do a delete interfaces, GE000 disable, and we can commit and quit on that. And what I could do is just do a capture on this GE000 interface and see what interesting traffic we're getting. So let's see. Now we're definitely seeing the ICMP traffic. So if I could, let's just pause that. And then I also want to run the same capture on the other interface. So let's just minimize this a little bit. And let me run a capture on this 00 interface. There we go. And we can even look at them side by side and see what are we seeing. So I can definitely see it's still running like it's active, but it's so interesting or cool to me that it's working as, I don't want to say intended, but I'm not running link aggregation on the MarketTick, but it's able to use either port. Like it's, since it's bridge, it's like just switching. So that's pretty cool. And let me just send another ping again. So let's just up arrow this, hit enter. And let's see, I can see left hand side the ICMP messages. I don't see it on the right hand side, which is expected. And if I look at one of these ping messages, I can see it is doing 802.1q. There's our VLAN ID. And this is really cool. Alright, so what I can do now is also just do the same disable again, and then we should see obviously the traffic going into the other interface. So configure, commit and quit. And then we should see in real time how this starts to just move the traffic to the right hand side. So there I see it's failing for a bit, and there it's figured out what it's doing. It's moved from one ESI to the other. That's really cool. I really like how that works. That was quite smooth. I mean, it was a few seconds. I'm sure we could get it down a bit, but a few seconds of downtime is pretty good in my opinion. I'd really like to see the traffic on this GE009. Although maybe I want to look at what, hang on, let me just look at the actual lab. Let me close these because I kind of know what's happening there. Yeah, 009 is a good interface here to check, because that should actually show us the EVPN packets, or at least what's happening with the MPLS side of things. So let's drill down into that a little bit. Yeah, I can see my MPLS. Like, I know these are MPLS packets. And if I just stop this, I can examine this a little bit and just dissect it and figure out a few things. So what are in these packets? Just the data. It might actually be worthwhile for me to just check on this GE009 as well. Because that is where the magic really happens. So if I run the ping quickly, we should see those packets come in. So those are our pings. So this still just looks like MPLS packets. Pretty cool. Pretty interesting. That's on that G009. And if I look at what's on G000 here, it should just show me the pings then. So let's just give it a quick look. Do this. And I could actually just disable this, commit and quit. Then we can run our ping. It's going to fail while it's doing its little failover section there. And it should start responding soon. There we go. But that's really cool. Like, it just works. I mean, that sounds like something that Todd Howard from Bethesda would be saying, but like, we've just got layer 2 span end to end using EVPN, and I mean, I could say that the setup doesn't look difficult because I obviously have the working setup already, but I'm just going to pop these off into a text format so that I can more easily and quickly grab a hold of them. But let's see, this is so, let me just dissect it a little bit. So I've got a G008 and 9 acting as my backholes. I wonder why that's disabled. Was I testing something? Let me just undisable that as well. Configure, delete, commit and quit. Because I said GE009 on, oh, it's actually this bottom one. So I think, how was that running? Because it should have been going from, oh, okay, that's even more interesting, because that would mean from the MikroTik it was forwarding it off to this upper Juniper, and then since the GE009 was disabled, it was actually just passing it down to this bottom device anyways and just switching it like MPLS. But since it had figured out that this interface to the customer side had gone down, it was able to go into this other failover state where the GE000 on the bottom Juniper became active, and then it was just accepting and forwarding those frames. That is quite nice, because that means even if there is some type of a backhaul issue on the service provider network, that the customer services won't be disrupted as badly. That is very nice. Because I just want to have a look at this GE009 here. If I capture that, we should see the pings. Well, we should see MPLS traffic is what I should say. So I don't know if the, yeah, ping is currently running. So we can see them being switched. We can see what the source MAC and the destination MAC is. Alright, so what I'd like to do is shut that port again, and then we'll just see in real time what the impact is, like how does the session timeout. So we can just configure, and we can just do a set interface GE009 disable. And if I do that, it is currently stopped at, there we go. So we dropped a couple of packets and it just continues on. Like it doesn't care that that backhaul died, it just is able to push it through this way instead of this way. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna probably just grab a dump of this configs and then I'm going to upload it. Well, not upload it necessarily, although I might do that as well, just on Pastebin or GitHub. But I'll probably use that in the Streamlab the next time, and then just be a continuation. I mean, I'm gonna, during the off time of the stream, also figure out the interoperability. Oh man, I'm messing up that word now, but the connectivity between the Juniper and the MikroTik, because I think VPLS should work. I really do think it should work. I mean, we could see that the layer 3 VPN stuff was working. So if that's working, I don't see any reason for layer 2 VPN not to work. Other than that, we've covered quite a few different topics, but like I'm having fun doing the labs. I mean, even though there's definitely stuff to improve on, that's the point of these labs, to improve, get better, learn from them, and just chat to people. So I think I'm going to actually log off now. I think I've done everything that I wanted to do tonight. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching,